Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Z. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. Today, I am going to cover for all of you what are the three main dangers of losing momentum. Yes, we're going to talk about losing momentum, which I know is something that is going to be quite familiar to a lot of you. I would be very surprised if a lot of you have not experienced at some point a new gender evolution, new gender path. I'm not going to say gender journey. I hate the word journey. The loss of momentum, or at least some form of a temporary setback where you lost all of that motivation you had. So, what are we talking about here today? Well, you know what it's like when you start out and you add cracks, or you finally decide to take the steps and you figure out who you are, and you maybe start by coming out and it feels affirmed, it feels great, and you are on a high rise. Or maybe you start hormones and they make you feel wonderful, affirmed, confident, to give you peace of mind, to give you clarity. All sounds good, right? So you keep going, you keep going, and you keep going. And you start either slowly incorporating your gender presentation into your everyday life. Maybe you start doing even some other things. So you're keeping up the momentum. We all know what momentum feels like. We have experienced momentum in number of things in our life. I have experienced momentum in changing up my working out routines when I decide to lift heavy weights. I have experienced momentum when I decided to sit down and write a book. We all know what momentum feels like. It's a wonderful feeling. It's a feeling embedded in some element of motivation. It feels like there's energy, there's fire, it keeps us going. And primarily, one of the reasons why the momentum is there and it keeps us going is because we're experiencing something, we feel something. For a lot of you, that feel and experience is going to be a sense of confidence, a sense of affirmation, a sense of finally doing something for yourself, a sense of, wow, my life is going to get better. I finally am going to be gender dysphoria free. All of this motivation, that's we call motivation, I suppose, makes you keep going. And then, just like with anything else, we'll experience a drop in that momentum. And one of the main reasons why so many of you experience a drop in that momentum is because things hit plateau. I talked about plateau many times on this channel. Plateau is incredibly common when you're going through gender transition. Why? Because changes, especially changes on feminizing or masculinizing hormones, whether you have your own dosage or you microdosing, takes time. Those changes take time. I don't care what people say on the internet, it is very rare for people to have immediate results. Some people feel what feels like immediate results, budding of a nipple, higher sensitivity, deepening of the voice. And those are all initial spikes and changes. And then there are other changes that take time. It takes time for a body to evolve, to be modified. And because these things take time, in addition to the fact that transition overall takes time, even changing your gender and name is going to take time. Even scheduling, finding, first of all, consulting, scheduling any type of surgery, unless, of course, you're going to go to, I don't know, there's today so many doctors say to do gender affirming surgery. And I mean, do they really? So if you have a doctor that is available to do gender affirming surgery like tomorrow, I highly recommend to reconsider and look for somebody else because all of the good doctors are booked. So that's going to take time too. Because all of this is going to take time. For some of you, growing out your hair is going to take time. My God, a few days ago, I was thinking about growing out my hair. And the minute I thought how long it was going to take just to grow out my bangs made me lose momentum. So That's why. That's why one of the main reasons a lot of you experience a loss in momentum, because things hit the plateau, they slow down, suddenly changes are not so apparent. You're starting to feel frustrated. You're starting to feel like things are never going to change, starting to feel agitated, anxious. You're starting to maybe even feel depressed. And it is that feeling, combination of all of those factors, that make you want to say, screw this, that makes you want to say, this is not going to work, that starts hitting every ounce of fear inside of you. It's not going to work. I knew it was never going to happen. I'm doomed. This is never going to come true. I might as well just give up. Does that sound familiar? I bet it does. And that's when people throw in the towel. And that's when they give up. So, what are the three main dangers of losing that momentum? And I'm also going to share with you my number one tip on how to keep momentum going. One, let's first cover. I'm jumping ahead. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be back. And I got such wonderful reception, by the way. Thank you, everybody, so very much. So, one of the main reasons why so many of you, why it is actually dangerous, I should say, to lose momentum is this. You get into a habit of yo-yoing. I also covered yo-yoing, which means you start, you stop, you start, you stop, which is, yes, people do all of the time. Some people lately, somebody wrote to me and said, you can't just stop taking hormones. Well, of course you can. You can. You should definitely do it with discussion with your doctor in regards to your health and whether for you specifically it can be just stopped or needs to be tapered off. But of course you can. People stop all the time. So this yo-yo effect, why is it dangerous? One of the reasons why it is so dangerous is because you get in the habit of doing it. Think back, anybody who ever dieted, and I think majority of us have at least tried once. If not diet, then some kind of exercise regimen to build or tone up the body. You lose that momentum. You give up. You say, screw this is never going to happen. You know that you're that much more likely to do that again when you pick up diet or exercise in the future because you've been there before. Our brains are prone to habituation. Once we habituate, we get used to things. So, one of the biggest dangers of losing the momentum, and I'm going through the dangers first because I want to put it in your mind so that way you're less likely to lose momentum because you know that these dangers of losing momentum is that habituation to giving up. We are creatures of habit. We get habituated to things that are terribly bad for us. Our our brain doesn't, believe it or not, doesn't distinguish between good or bad. It just forms a habit. This is how people become addicted to cigarettes, alcohol. You get habituated to it. Yes, for some it is also a dependency, but for a lot it is a formation habit. And you would think our brain would say, wait a second, this is not good for us. But no, it just does what it's told. So when you get habituated, remember that you are going to be more prone to potentially yo-yoing or giving up on yourself in the future. You don't want that to happen. Second dangers of losing momentum is that you are ending up wasting your precious time. And time, my friend, is something, it's a commodity that you can never buy back. It is fleeting, as you know. And so losing the time, the precious time you have, puts you at the risk to end up with tremendous amount of, I should have done it sooner. I should have done it earlier. Now it's too late. So let's say you lost your momentum today and you dropped it all. The longer you are in a state of not doing anything, of not going back to the steps you were taking, the more time you waste, in other words, the less likely you're going to be to go back. I have people who it's been years, it has been 5, 6, 7, 10 years since their momentum. Well, guess what? By that time, it's very difficult to go back because you are feeling so bad about yourself. You're feeling so guilty for giving up on yourself. So as you can see, there's a mix of feelings we experience when we feel we have wasted our time. So this is the second, and I would say one of the biggest dangers of losing momentum is that it just puts you in a position to then not do anything for a long period of time. And the longer you're not doing anything about it, the higher chance you're never going to do something about it. And I don't want any of you to suffer and struggle with dysphoria till the end of your days. And finally, the third danger of losing momentum is that it clearly takes you away from your goals, even the goals you have set. I had people who already had surgical dates lined up with amazing surgeons, had resources and funds in place. And because they lost momentum and they decided to put a big pause, they lost those slots. And then when they decided to go back to it, they realized now they have to wait another year for an appointment. That's devastating. So any goals you have set, you can just forget them if you lose your momentum. Any goals you have set, you can just forget them if you lose your momentum. And that sucks. That really does. It also takes you further away from the goal of becoming the beautiful, authentic you that you know yourself to be. So losing momentum sucks. Now you know all three major dangers of losing momentum. I'm going to give you now my number one tip. Oh, you haven't subscribed yet? Subscribe. I'm so bad at telling people what I really would like them to do. So I'm squeezing it. Anytime I forget to do it in the beginning, I'm squeezing it in the middle. Subscribe to this channel and to my Instagram. So my number one tip, when you hit that plateau, when you hit that little dip, when you feel that nothing is happening, when you're frustrated, you're annoyed, you're starting to feel anxious and depressed, and you just want to give up, this is what I tell every single client, and it works. As long as you do the work, do the bare minimum. What is the bare minimum? For a lot of you who are on hormones as part of your gender path, the bare minimum that I ask of you is to remain on hormones. It shouldn't be that hard to do that. It should not be that hard to do that. For some of you who are struggling with a lot of other things, maybe you're really struggling with depression, your bare minimum might be getting out of bed and thinking about when you're going to resume things for yourself. Pick something very small in direction toward your biggest goal. And your biggest goal is your gender transition, whatever that may be, and stick to it. Do something small. When I lost my momentum writing my book, and my goal was to write 50 words a day, which, by the way, is already not a lot. The smallest that I could do then is to write 25 words a day. When I couldn't write 25 words a day, I wrote 25 words every other day. So I kept doing bare minimum until I regained momentum. Any plateau is bound to shift. Anytime you're low, you eventually soon enough go high. Anything that is high, go slow. Anything that is low, it reminds me of the Wheel of Fortune in a tarot deck. Fortuna, you might be on the top one day, you might be on the bottom. It's life. It's things changing constantly. But it's not an indication that you are off your path or that you should just give up everything and throw in the towel. So, trust me, one of the worst things you can do is to just stop cold turkey with everything. It is going to habituate you to doing it again. It is going to waste your time. It is going to make you feel terrible for doing that. And it is also going to make you give up on your goals. And I don't want you to do that. So again, I always go back to small steps, and there's a reason for them. There's a reason why I constantly preach small steps, because they always accumulate to a lot of large things. They always do. Everybody who always, anytime anybody hit a plateau knows that if you just stay on track, even doing bare minimum, you eventually regain your momentum. You're bound to, because something is going to change. Either things inside of you start to change, you start getting new physical changes, you start even maybe relating to yourself differently. Learn how to see that period of plateau, that period of stillness, as a positive thing. Learn how to see that as a time, hermit time, for your psyche to integrate everything that is happening. If you haven't seen my video yet on reverse gender dysphoria, I explained there how part of the reason why it happens is because you haven't integrated things internally. Learn how to see the spirits of your life that you think suck. Nothing is happening. Slow, as a positive, as an opportunity to go inwards, as an opportunity to work on your fears, as an opportunity to work on your inner dysphoria, as an opportunity to think about things you need to do. Comment below, let me know. Have you lost momentum? I know that a lot of people have. I know it's very common. That's all right. I don't want anybody to feel bad about it or watching this video saying, shit, I've been there many, many times. It's okay. It is okay. The most important thing is not to dwell where we have been, but to put our energy into thinking where we are going. It's like Tony Robbins says, if you're driving and you're constantly looking in a rear mirror into your past, you're bound to crash. You need to look forward. You need to see where you're going. You need to see, you need to be present, and you need to lean into your future. So comment below, let me know, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.